Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are breaking down athlete activism. I think before we get into the sports side of it, it's important to understand what activism is really built on. Social movements don't just appear out of nowhere. They form when people feel a threat to their independence or a hope for something better. And then they come together because they can believe their voices can shape their own lives. At its core, a social movement is simply people acting together with purpose. It's a group recognizing a problem, agreeing something needs to change, and using their collective influence to push for it. The basic idea helps explain why athletes step into these conversations in the first place. And that's where athletes fit in. When they speak up, they're not just making statements, they're joining into this larger pattern of collective action. Their platforms allow them to challenge cultural norms, call out injustice, and amplify issues that might otherwise be ignored. But with that influence also comes tension. Activism can strengthen support and visibility, but can just as easily create criticism, backlash, and shifts in how their personal brand is perceived. Our group explored both sides of that reality, looking at how activism can empower and also complicate an athlete's brand. You're going to hear from Remy, Lauren, Mia, and Ella as they unpack those dynamics. What we hope you see through this podcast is that athlete activism isn't just about sport. It connects to a much bigger struggle for people to have a voice in their own lives.
All right, thanks, Karis, for that intro. Amazing intro. Now let's hop right into it. Like she said, I'm going to talk about the pros regarding Black Lives Matter movement. All right. So here we have 3 articles, 3 examples, real-world examples about the sport industry and how the Black Lives Matter contributed to it. So number 1, LeBron James, written by Combs and Costello, 2017. They say LeBron James, who is a prominent figure within the sport industry and arguably one of the best NBA players to ever play the game besides Michael Jordan, I'd say, who used his platform to raise global awareness, not only during the 2014 and 2020 season campaign, but he also used his credibility within the sport industry to even reach out further and advocate for peaceful activism and protests that spread the message of unity rather than solely focusing and promoting violence. Number 2, here we have Colin Kaepernick, a ex-NFL quarterback who played for the San Francisco 49ers and was very, very good, but unfortunately had his career ended because of this said protests. He said that he empowered marginalized communities within America and worldwide. He became a powerful voice for those experiencing oppression and racial inequality. His kneeling protest was famed as something bigger than football, representing people who felt unheard. Now, this message not only resonated within America, but it also resonated globally, which created a movement of solidarity around issues of structural racism within the United States and worldwide. Now, inspiring global solidarity here for our third point, we have Naomi Osaka, a prominent and one of the best tennis players in the world, and she is from Canada. Coming from parents both in Japan and Jamaica, in Haiti, African and Japanese descent, we have here she was able to use that platform and her voice to spread the message internationally about racial injustice. At the US Open, she wore a mask with the names of Black victims of police violence, and that was able to share the message even further. Her actions even was shown through broadcast that she even asked the audience, what message did we get? And I feel like that's just a very powerful move and made us to reflect. Her approach not only helped connect the movement within the US, but also worldwide. Now, sending it to Lauren so she can talk about the cons regarding the Black Lives Matter movement.
Remy brought up some really great points on how athlete activism can positively affect an athlete's brand image. But what are the negative consequences? Well, the globalization of sports has given athletes increasing social influence that extends far beyond the field. Colin Kaepernick exemplifies how an athlete can use their platform to advocate for personal beliefs. As Remy discussed, Kaepernick's activism sparked meaningful change, but also carried consequences that impacted his brand image. According to Arai et al.'s 2013-2014 criteria for measuring athlete brand image, Kaepernick was previously seen as a talented, youthful quarterback who led the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance and served as a role model committed to his sport. Media framing played a crucial role in shaping public perception of Kaepernick's actions. Boykoff and Carrington's 2019 study of major U.S. newspapers found portrayals ranging from traitorous and attention-seeking to patriotic expressions of First Amendment ideals. Some narratives argued that he should shut up and play, while others viewed his protests as legitimate activism against police brutality and racial injustice. Journalists frequently questioned whether Kaepernick was right or wrong, reinforcing negative views of his actions. Public opinion polarized quickly. Schmidt et al. From 2018 observed Facebook narratives and how they diminished his image as fans burned his jerseys, NFL players criticized him, and an executive labeled him as a traitor. Initial claims that Kaepernick's protest disrespected the military led him to kneel rather than sit during the anthem, a gesture he said was meant to avoid showing pride in a flag for a country that oppresses Black people and people of color. Despite this, his demonstration did little to sway public opinion, and his NFL career abruptly ended after the 2016-2017 season. Many believe Kaepernick's inability to re-sign stemmed from his political stance, what Boykoff and Carrington called a radioactive view, appearing in 34 of the articles that they analyzed. This fallout prompted Kaepernick to file a grievance against the NFL, alleging owners of collusion. Brown et al. In 2022 found that athletes promoting risky activism, such as racial justice causes, experienced decreased perceptions of attractiveness, sportsmanship, and role model status, all key components of brand image. Kaepernick's case reflects this dynamic. Activism can enhance meaning, but damage marketability. Brand image directly affects careers and sponsorships as well. While Kaepernick retained his Nike deal, others, like Brandon Marshall, lost sponsors. Air Academy Federal Credit Union, for example, stated that Marshall's protests did not represent their organization, illustrating how corporate interests closely track brand alignment. Today, Kaepernick's image represents empowerment and enduring protests. Though he no longer embodies the NFL star persona, he remains a powerful symbol for social justice and continues to use his platform to drive change in the United States.
As mentioned, athletes today increasingly leverage their platforms to promote social causes. Through advocating for women's sports equity, many athletes have noted significant support and enhancement to their reputations and overall brand values. Players within the WNBA have emerged as prominent leaders in the advancement of women's sports. Specifically, athletes such as Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson have used their voices to spotlight issues surrounding pay equity, visibility, and recognition. During the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement negotiation, Stewie highlights how we helped build the house and questioned, why can't we have keys to the house? Stewie's statement is powerful, calling for greater revenue sharing and financial transparency within the league. Asia reflects on utilizing her voice in a similar way as Stewie, emphasizing that she used her platform knowing people were listening, which encouraged her to continue speaking out on things she believes in. Through utilizing their brands and platforms, athletes such as Stewie and Asia start movements, and fan responds with an outlook of change, asking how they can support. This being a generally universal experience for athlete activists, as seen by the University of Central Florida's study, showing findings of 72% of WNBA fans have positive reaction towards athletes calling for gender equity and equal pay. Moreover, in a case study addressing Simone Biles' withdrawal from the 2020 Olympics due to mental health reasons, similar findings occurred. The case study found 92% of social media consumers in their sample supported Simone Biles' decision to withdraw and supported her decision to advocate for social issues such as female athletes' mental health. These examples illustrate how athletes' collective advocacy has deepened fan engagement and positioned them as role models, further enhancing their personal brands. From a marketing perspective, athlete activism, particularly the WNBA as highlighted, has been shown to strengthen brand equity rather than harm it. Research on athlete brand image demonstrates that consumers respond positively to athletes who display authenticity, moral integrity, and social responsibility. Asia Wilson's statement, "If you can see her, you can be her," encapsulates this connection between visibility, representation, and inspiration. Such activism not only resonates with diverse audiences, but also reinforces the idea that empowerment and social impact can coexist with commercial success.
Mia is completely right. Women athletes, especially in the WNBA, have used their platform to push for equity, visibility, and real social change, and have furthered the league's reputation and inspired many fans. However, at the same time, this activism puts these athletes at risk, especially because they're female athletes. Research by Cardoso Brown et al. 2023 found that Black women in the WNBA are often at the forefront for these equity movements, and yet their activism is met with racism, sexism, and oftentimes erased altogether. A great example of this is when Kelly Loeffler, former Atlanta Dream co-owner, publicly condemned her own players for supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. Cardoso Brown et al. 2023. She used her power against her own players and put these athletes in a position where speaking out meant risking backlash, not just from the media, but from the people that hold their brand and career in their hands. Beyond just ownership and media, another risk athletes face when participating in activism is backlash from their fans. Studies have shown that when athletes speak out, many fans react with anger or to try to completely disassociate themselves from the players and teams, which ultimately harms how an athlete is viewed and can harm their brand marketability. Sanderson et al. 2016. For women who already deal with major pay gaps and depend more on sponsorship, this kind of backlash can have real consequences. Then, on top of all of this, the organizations they play for don't always support them either. Teams often try to avoid activism they think they might upset fans or sponsors, leaving female athletes to deal with it all on their own. Armstrong et al. 2018. Yes, activism absolutely can enhance visibility and inspire change, and Mia highlighted that really well. But at the same time, women athletes face many challenges when they speak out. Their passion for activism can put their careers, brand image, and their income at risk. I think it is important that we acknowledge both sides of it, the progress they're driving, and the real risk and barriers they face when doing it.
Now, to close out our vodcast, it's clear that athlete activism has become a defining part of modern sport. Athletes today aren't just recognized for their performance, they're recognized for their ability to shape conversations about justice, equality, and change. Their platforms reach millions of people, and when they choose to speak out, they can create global awareness and push important issues into the spotlight. Our analysis also showed that activism is far from simple. Fans, media, and sponsors react in very different ways, and an athlete's brand can shift quickly depending on how their message is interpreted. Some athletes strengthen their image and deepen their connection with supportive fans, while others face criticism, decreased likability, and even financial consequences, especially when they take a stand on issues that feel politically or socially risky to the public. What stands out most is that activism is not just a statement. It is a deliberate choice. Athletes make that choice knowing there are real rewards and real risks. Whether they are praised or challenged, their actions continue to shape sport culture and influence the direction of broader social movements. I hope this gave you a clear look at how athlete activism continues to evolve and why it matters today. Thank you so much for watching.